Join me for a day in my life as a chronically overwhelmed mum who just can't seem to keep on top of things no matter what I do. Today I'm on a mission to turn my mental health around and gain back control of my house. Again. And yes, I say again because as we all know by now, this happens quite often. And I just wanted to talk about it, partly because I need a massive vent, but also because I know I'm not the only one who feels like they're constantly chasing their tail and not really getting anywhere. And it can be frustrating, not to mention emotionally and physically draining. So if you're in a similar situation to me and your house has gotten on top of you, let's work together and push through to get rid of the bulk of the mess today. And hopefully we'll wake up tomorrow morning feeling like we've got more of a handle on things. Because right now, I don't feel like that at all. This is the last thing I want to do. I have no motivation for it. But I know I'll feel so much differently when it's done. I am just irritated at the minute though. Irritated that it's happened again. Because I have done a great big clean-up like this so many times. And I always promise myself that this is the last time I'll have to work so hard and spend so much time on it. Because next time I'm going to be consistent and pick up as I go along more. Yeah. Granted, it's not as bad as it has been in the past, and I'm sure you can all see that. And it's not to say I'm not trying and I'm not constantly on the move and sorting stuff around the house. But often the mess happens far faster than I can counteract it. And the main issue is, some people, like me, really struggle with creating and sticking to habits. That's the project I'm working on right now behind the table, a sandpit for the boys. But we struggle with staying on track and being consistent when our moods or situations fluctuate regularly. Honestly, I never know who I'm going to wake up as each morning. And if my little one sleeps terribly, like he has been doing recently, the next day is pretty much a write-off. Last night, for example, my little one, Ike, was up at 2, 3 and finally decided to wake up for the day at 4:30 a.m. Now, there's only so many days in a row I can cope with that. He's like the Terminator. He just doesn't need to sleep. Why those carrots keep reappearing in my house, I do not know. But yeah, the day already got off to a rocky start because I had to wake Charlie up and say, look, you've got to do the school run today because I need to go back to sleep. Bear in mind that Charlie was on the late shift the night before. We'll be on the late shift again tonight, and then we'll be going straight to an early shift the next day, followed by me heading out for my late shift as soon as he gets home. So I felt ridiculously guilty. Usually we plan in advance whose morning it is to do the school run, but I had to lean on him, because I'm still recovering from low iron, and I'm still the one that gets up with the kids in the night if ever they wake. So anyway, I had grand plans to start early today, but I woke up at 11. Already in a bad mood because of that. So a huge portion of the day was already gone. Charlie was too tired to do much other than lie on the settee and watch films with Ike. And because of that, in just one day where we're not as on the ball, the whole house will turn into chaos. And I struggle with that concept, that I can't even allow myself one day just to rest. Otherwise the consequence will be an entire day, like today, of resetting the house. An entire day where I'm not able to give my family the attention they deserve. Or make time to exercise and work on my health, which is something I'm desperately trying to do. Or just go out and visit family or friends, or just do anything that makes life feel full and well-rounded. Saying that, even when the house is not overly messy, I still feel like I have to spend the majority of my time just making sure it doesn't get to that point. I don't want to spend my entire life cleaning and tidying and doing laundry, only for it to look like I've done nothing the next day. I'm tired of being in this vicious cycle of putting more effort than I really should be into managing the house and preventing mess, only for that to result in burnout and ultimately a massive mess again. And I know, I'm moaning, but sometimes I think it's healthy to moan. It's cathartic, so just allow me the indulgence. Anyway, some of us whose houses get messy quickly will hear pick up as you go along constantly from other people. We're told how easy it is, how it shouldn't be this difficult to maintain a tidy space. And then they go on to list all of the good habits that they have, that they perform consistently each day without fail to keep on top of things. Like it's the most simple thing in the world for everybody. And the only reason that someone wouldn't be able to do it must be that they just don't know what it is they need to do. It's hard to convey and get across that not all of us notice the things we could do to prevent a big mess throughout the day. And that's the key factor to being able to pick up as you go along. noticing at all times what needs to be done. As much as some people struggle with the concept, and they really do, not everyone's brain works in the same way, and it's not always a simple case of knowing what to do or being more disciplined. I know for me, in order to see a mess in the making, I have to be in cleaning mode and actively looking for it. This is why I often do big cleanups at the start or sometimes the end of the day, because I don't really notice mess building up. I only notice when it's gotten to the point where I can't bear it, which is not ideal, and if you watch my YouTube you'll know that's something I'm working on. But I have a really all or nothing mindset, and I can really only focus on one thing at a time. And I'll focus on that one thing intensely. So if I'm focusing on spending time with the kids, I'm not really noticing the mess that's building up. If I'm focusing on a creative project, nothing else in the world exists. And hours can pass by in what feels like a minute. This is why turning cleaning and making cleaning videos into a creative outlet has been so beneficial for my family. But yeah, I also have something called waiting mode that really hinders me. For example, if I'm trying to fit in an exercise routine into my day, I'll really struggle to do anything else until I've got it done and out of my brain. Or if I have work later on in the day or an appointment I need to get to later on, I find it hard to be productive or do anything else but wait for that thing to be out of the way. I'm a lot better now with it, but when I was younger, I'd literally waste entire days just waiting for that thing, because I was so anxious and couldn't rest until it was complete. So I'm constantly moving in and out of modes, and they rarely overlap. I have to be in certain modes to do certain things. It's very all or nothing and largely out of my control. Another example is I need to get into friend mode to remember to be a good friend and message people back. I am absolutely awful for this. It's usually at the end of the day when I'm drifting off to sleep that I'll realise that I've missed about 100 messages in the group chat, and I end up having to kind of awkwardly slot myself into the conversation after it's already done, just to reassure them that I'm here and I care and I love them. My brain's just frazzled. The guilt I feel over that. I have to get into relationship mode to remember not to neglect my relationship. And that usually means having to carve out time to nurture us. That time usually happens after 10 o'clock at night, after the kids have gone to bed. And because I suffer with exhaustion, when we make that time for each other, I know I'm sacrificing the next day, because I'll be walking around like a zombie and too tired to do anything. And what happens then? I drop the ball on the house. And I feel guilty that I haven't taken my son out anywhere or done anything mentally stimulating with him. It's just this constant juggling act. I know to a certain extent it's something each and every one of us struggle with, finding balance, juggling everything. Because life's just so busy, and the pressure on us as individual humans just gets greater and greater with each decade. Certain aspects of our life are going to get neglected and are going to suffer, because we just physically can't do everything all of the time. But I find even the basics so unnecessarily difficult. I dream of a balanced life where everything flows smoothly, and I don't freeze or go into waiting mode, and I don't leave things to build up for the end of the day. And I'm able to be a good friend and partner and mum, and make time for hobbies and work in the same day, without that meaning the house is going to spiral out of control. And maybe that sounds ridiculous, but I think if you have ADHD, you'll understand all of these things completely. And if you have a family full of neurodivergent folk, all in their own little worlds, all focusing on whatever it is they're focusing on at the time, all collectively not noticing the mess as they carry on their merry way, you'll doubly understand. You'll understand how it builds up and gets out of control so fast. I often get told you need to teach your children to put their things away after they've finished with them. You need to train your partner to help. And people say all of this with next to no context of what goes on behind the scenes. I do try to teach them, of course. Just because you don't see that in the videos doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Not my partner, obviously, because he's not a dog who needs training. He's a competent adult who already does way more than his fair share. But what I'm saying is, we're all trying. I'm doing my best to raise children who aren't going to struggle with basic life skills as adults. That's on my mind constantly. Trust me. Because the fact is, I myself have always struggled with things that a lot of other people find really simple and basic. And I've worked extraordinarily hard to get to the point I'm at today. You see, before I had kids, as much as I hated the mess and it made me anxious, I didn't have enough of an incentive to do anything about it. I found it too overwhelming and didn't know where to start. So I didn't start. My room was so messy you couldn't see the floor. Clothes, artwork, mouldy food, Coca-Cola cans, just everything, everywhere. And this was well into my 20s, by the way. My children, and becoming a mum, pushed me to want to make a change and do better for them. So some people might, from the outside looking in, still think this isn't acceptable. You need to do better and be better for your kids. But I've been working on doing just that since I became a mum, and I've been gradually improving ever since. But I still have days where I feel like I'm never going to be able to maintain it. I can never fully relax because I fear if I do, the house and my brain are both going to revert back to the way it was before. And not only do my kids not deserve that, neither do I. I've worked too hard to be where I am today and find methods and ways to muddle along as best I can. And I'm not one to give up. As much as I'm tired in my soul at the minute, I've found I'm happiest when I'm productive. I know I'm at my best mentally when the house is tidy, not show home level tidy, of course, but acceptable. At a level I wouldn't be embarrassed if someone randomly popped over to visit. That's what I'm going for. And this is why I drone on about tidying and about executive dysfunction in my videos, and how those things leach into and affect every other aspect of a person's life. Keeping house for some people is such a small facet of their overall life and experience, whereas for others, it's debilitating and all-consuming. And sometimes, all people need is to just feel seen and understood in their struggles. So I'm happy to be the person that goes on about it over and over again on the internet. And for me, it's just one of those days where I don't feel like I've got anything figured out. And I thought it was important to share. I don't always feel like this, don't get me wrong. A lot of the time I feel really confident in the direction I'm going in life. But some days I just get so much mum guilt and guilt in general. Because time's moving so fast and life's so fleeting, but we still have responsibilities and things we need to get done from day to day. Literally, how do we fit it all in? I don't want to spend hours of my life each day tidying when I could be visiting the people I love, people who aren't going to be here forever. I want to use my precious time to just be with my toddler while he's still a toddler, and not running through mental checklists of all the things I need to do and all the goals I haven't met yet. Do you know what? It's 'cause I'm on my period. I'll feel completely different in a week. And that's another thing we have to deal with, feeling like 4 different people every month. But anyway, I'm just going to take it one day at a time. I'm taking a few days to create a kind of clean slate. And today, I spent as much time as I needed getting back on top of the house. I proved to myself that I do still have time to get some exercise in and spend some quality time with the kids. It wasn't all just about cleaning. We've had a takeaway, because I feel like sometimes you've just got to treat yourself, not only to some tasty food that someone else has cooked, but also to the gift of no more pots in the sink. Me and the littlest haven't really done much else today, but there's always tomorrow. And I keep telling myself, at least I'm not going to have as much to do when I wake up in the morning. And that's a win. And I think I'm going to document the next few days as well, of me just trying to claw myself out of this rut and get into a better mindset. Because at the end of the day, it's all about perspective. It's all about I get to instead of I have to. It's about finding joy in the mundane and the little things. I get to clean my house. I get to go to work. I have a family and so much to do that I sometimes can't fit it all in. There are some people who would do anything to be in that position. And there was a time I could only dream of being the person I am today and living the life I get to lead. And yeah, that's my little ramble for today. And you know what? I already feel so much better. And I hope you do too.